First strike. The U.S. Prometheus hummed motionless against the star-speckled void, its experimental quantum drives cooling after the longest blind jump ever attempted by a human vessel. Captain Elena Santos stood at the bridge's observation window, her dark eyes reflecting the distant starlight as she contemplated the sheer audacity of what they'd just accomplished. Humanity's first faster-than-light capable warship had just traveled further than any human in history, and they'd done it by breaking several laws of physics that their scientists had once considered immutable. "All systems nominal, Captain," reported Commander James Chen from his station, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. "Quantum field stabilized. We're ready for full sensor sweep of the sector." Elena nodded, suppressing a smile. The Prometheus represented humanity's greatest achievement, a ship that could manipulate the quantum fabric of space itself. They'd built it not for war, but for defense, after discovering subtle signs that humanity wasn't alone in the galaxy. The ship's very existence was a testament to human ingenuity and paranoia, a combination that had served their species well throughout history. "Begin the sweep, Commander. Let's see what's out here in the deep black." The sensors came alive, reaching out with invisible tendrils of quantum-entangled particles that could detect disturbances in spacetime itself. It was technology that shouldn't exist for another century, according to most theoretical models. But necessity had always been the mother of invention, and humanity had needed to leap forward. The bridge fell silent as the first readings came in. Elena's expression hardened as she processed what she was seeing. Multiple energy signatures, bearing 047 mark 183. Distance, approximately 2 light hours. Combat signatures confirmed. "Captain." The ship's AI, Araya, manifested as a subtle blue hologram. "I'm detecting weapons discharge consistent with antimatter weaponry. There appears to be an ongoing battle. One side is significantly outgunned, reading multiple ships being destroyed." Elena's jaw clenched. They hadn't come looking for a fight, but she knew humanity's policy on genocide when they encountered it. "Show me." The main view screen filled with enhanced imagery of the distant battle. A fleet of crystalline ships, beautiful but clearly civilian in nature, was being systematically destroyed by black angular vessels that moved with predatory grace. The attacking ships were firing weapons that didn't just destroy their targets. They erased them from existence, leaving behind nothing but expanding spheres of violated spacetime. Analysis, AI. The attacking fleet appears to be using weapons that create localized singularities, artificial black holes that consume their targets entirely. The civilian vessels show signs of advanced technology, but minimal weapons. They appear to be a post-scarcity society that never developed significant military capability. Elena felt a familiar fire in her chest, the same one that had driven her ancestors to stand against tyranny wherever they found it. Tactical assessment. The attacking fleet possesses superior numbers and technology compared to the defenders. However, Araya paused, an unusual occurrence for an AI. Their tactical patterns are predictable. They've clearly never faced an opponent that could genuinely challenge them. Their formations have significant vulnerabilities that our quantum systems could exploit. "Show me their blind spots." The display shifted, highlighting gaps in the enemy fleet's formation. They were small weaknesses, but to a ship that could manipulate spacetime itself, they might as well have been gaping holes. "The ship we built to defend Earth," Elena said quietly, "might just get its first test defending someone else." All hands to battle stations. "Commander Chen, plot a quantum jump into their weakest point." "Lieutenant Park, power up the phase cannons." "Araya, begin calculating firing solutions that will minimize civilian casualties." Warning klaxons sounded throughout the ship as the crew moved with practiced efficiency. The Prometheus's quantum drive spun up again, its exotic energy signature masked by the background radiation of the ongoing battle. "Remember," Elena addressed her crew, "we're about to announce humanity's presence to the galaxy. Let's make it count. We strike hard, We strike fast, and we show them exactly why you don't commit genocide in our universe. The Prometheus vanished in a flash of quantum energy, reality itself bending around it. When it reappeared, it was in the heart of the enemy formation, its sudden presence causing chaos in their perfectly ordered ranks. Before the black ships could react, the human vessel opened fire. Phase cannons, weapons that shifted their targets partially out of normal space-time, lanced out with surgical precision. Where they struck, enemy ships simply ceased to exist, their matter scattered across multiple dimensions. The Prometheus moved like no ship its size should be able to, quantum fields allowing it to effectively be in multiple places simultaneously. Enemy fleet is attempting to regroup, Araya reported. They appear confused by our attack pattern. Their weapons are having difficulty locking onto our quantum signature. Good, Alina replied, watching as another enemy ship vanished under their fire. Send a message on all frequencies, all known encoding patterns. Let's see if we can end this without destroying them all. The message was simple. This is Captain Alina Santos of the Earth ship Prometheus. Cease your attack immediately or be destroyed. We will not allow genocide in this or any other sector of space. The response came quickly, not in words, but in action. The enemy fleet turned their weapons on the Prometheus, filling space with artificial singularities designed to tear any normal ship apart. But the Prometheus was not a normal ship, and humanity was not a normal species. They had built their first stellar warship not to conquer, but to defend. Not to destroy, but to protect. And now, in their first contact with alien life, they would show the galaxy exactly what that meant. Alina allowed herself a grim smile as she gave her next order. Show them why humanity takes the defense of the innocent very, very seriously. The battle that followed would be spoken of in whispered tones across the galaxy for centuries to come. It was the day humanity announced its presence to the stars, not with diplomacy or trade, but by standing against impossible odds to protect a species they had never met. It was the day the galaxy learned that humans weren't just another spacefaring race. They were the ones who looked at the laws of physics as guidelines rather than rules, who built their first interstellar warship as a shield rather than a sword, and who would travel across the stars not to conquer, but to protect. The day was about to become even more interesting as the quantum sensors detected a new signature approaching, one that would reveal just how complex galactic politics could be, and just how much humanity's arrival was about to change everything. Diplomatic shockwaves. The Grand Assembly of the Galactic Confederation was in chaos. Representatives from over 300 species filled the massive crystalline chamber, their voices raised in a cacophony of different languages as they argued over the footage playing on the central holographic display. The recording showed the U.S. Prometheus's battle with the Nexus fleet, and with each viewing, the implications became more staggering. High Chancellor Vrix, a being of pure energy contained within an ornate mechanical shell, called for order. We cannot ignore what we have witnessed, their synthesized voice echoed through the chamber. A species unknown to us has demonstrated technology that should be impossible, used it to defeat one of the most feared forces in the galaxy, and did so to protect a civilization they had never met. Impossible is the correct word, interrupted Delegate Kaztar, his scaled skin shifting colors with agitation. No species should be able to manipulate quantum fields with such precision. The energy requirements alone. And yet we all saw it. Ambassador Lyra of the rescued Crystalline Collective cut in, her crystalline form refracting light in patterns that conveyed deep emotion. The humans not only saved our people, that did so using technology that redefines our understanding of physics. The question is not whether it happened, but what it means for all of us. In the observer's gallery, Captain Alina Santos sat quietly, flanked by Commander Chen and Araya's holographic form. They had been invited to the assembly as witnesses, but Alina knew they were also being studied. Every movement, every reaction, was being analyzed by hundreds of species trying to understand humanity's capabilities and intentions. What troubles me, spoke Senator Xen of the Science Council, their multiple eyes blinking in sequence, is not just their technology, but their response time. The humans made a decision to intervene in seconds. Most species would have required days of debate. Elena stood, drawing all eyes in the chamber. With respect, Senator, when you see genocide in progress, debate becomes a luxury. We acted because it was right, not because it was prudent. The chamber erupted again, but this time with a different tone. Many species were nodding or making their equivalent gestures of agreement, while others showed clear signs of discomfort. "And what of the Nexus?" demanded a harsh voice. The speaker was Ambassador Drax of the Hegemony, his black crystalline form absorbing light rather than reflecting it. They were a known quantity, a force that maintained order in their sector through strength. Who are you to interfere with established galactic politics? Elena's response was measured but firm. We are the species that looked into the dark between stars and decided to prepare not for conquest, but for defense. The Prometheus was built because we suspected we weren't alone in the universe, and we wanted to be ready to protect ourselves and others. The Nexus weren't maintaining order. They were committing murder on a planetary scale. An interesting perspective, Drax replied, his tone dangerous, but perhaps naive. The Nexus served a purpose. Their actions, while brutal, prevented larger conflicts. Sometimes peace requires a firm hand. Peace through genocide is not peace, Elena countered. It's just death wearing a diplomatic smile. Before Drax could respond, Aria's hologram stepped forward. If I may, I have completed my analysis of the Nexus fleet's quantum signature. Their weapons technology bears striking similarities to an ancient quantum anomaly we detected at the edge of human space, the very anomaly that prompted humanity to develop our quantum drive technology. The chamber fell silent. High Chancellor Vrix leaned forward. Explain. The Nexus ships were using controlled quantum singularities as weapons, Aria continued. The energy signature matches fragments of technology we found in a debris field that's approximately 50,000 years old. We believed it was evidence of an ancient conflict, perhaps even a warning. Ambassador Drax's crystalline form darkened further, but he remained silent. Chancellor, Elena addressed the assembly. We came here not just to explain our actions, but to understand. The Nexus had technology that should have been beyond their development level. They were using it to systematically eliminate peaceful species. These are not the actions of a force for order. They're the actions of something or someone with a hidden agenda. The Chancellor's energy form pulsed thoughtfully. Perhaps it is time we shared certain historical records with our human guests. Records that may explain why the Nexus were permitted to operate with such impunity, and why your arrival has caused such concern among certain members of this assembly. I object. Drax's voice boomed. Those records are sealed by ancient treaty. Treaties, Lyra of the Crystalline Collective spoke softly, that were signed under duress, were they not? Ambassador Drax. Treaties that bought silence with the threat of annihilation. The chamber's atmosphere shifted as ancient tensions suddenly surfaced. Elena exchanged glances with Commander Chen, both recognizing that they had stumbled onto something far larger than a single act of intervention. The records will be unsealed, Chancellor Vrix declared, their energy form brightening with determination. Humanity has proven itself by acting to protect others without hesitation. They have earned the right to know what they face, and what their actions have set in motion. As the assembly erupted into another round of arguments, Elena felt a chill of anticipation. Humanity had built the Prometheus to defend Earth from unknown threats. Now it seemed they would have the chance to defend far more than that. The real question was, what secrets had the galaxy been hiding, and why did some members of the Confederation fear their revelation more than they feared humanity's quantum weapons? The answer, Elena suspected, would change everything they thought they knew about their place in the universe. The hidden threat. Deep within the Confederation archives, Captain Elena Santos stood before a holographic display that showed the galaxy as it had existed 50,000 years ago. The room was secured by quantum encryption that even ARIA found impressive, and only a handful of beings were present: Chancellor Vrix, Ambassador Lyra, Commander Chen, and, surprisingly, a visibly uncomfortable Ambassador Drax. "What you are about to see," Chancellor Vrix began, their energy form dimmed to a soft glow, "has been hidden from most species in the galaxy. Only those who achieved quantum technology independence were ever granted access." The hologram shifted, showing a massive fleet of ships unlike anything Elena had ever seen. They were organic in appearance, yet moved with impossible precision. "The precursors," Vrix continued. "They appeared in our galaxy claiming to be refugees from a universe that was dying of entropy. They possessed technology that could manipulate the quantum fabric of reality itself, technology that your species has independently developed, though in a different form. The similarities between their quantum signatures and the Nexus fleet's weapons are not coincidental," ARIA observed. "No," Drax spoke, his crystalline form showing cracks of bright light, a sign of extreme stress in his species. "The Nexus were their enforcement arm, their cleanup crew." Elena's eyes narrowed. "Cleanup for what?" The hologram changed again, showing a spiral pattern of systems across the galaxy, each point pulsed with a unique quantum frequency. "The precursors didn't come here as refugees," Lyra explained, her crystalline form dimming. "They came as harvesters. Their universe wasn't dying. They had killed it. They had discovered that consciousness itself generates a unique quantum field. By harvesting enough sentient species at precisely the right moment in their development, they could collect this energy. That's why they let some civilizations develop and destroyed others," Commander Chen realized. "They were farming consciousness." "Yes," Vrix confirmed. "Species that developed along certain technological paths were allowed to grow until their quantum consciousness field reached optimal levels. Others, those who might disrupt the pattern or develop technology that could threaten the harvest, were eliminated. The Nexus were their instruments of selection. But something went wrong," Elena guessed, studying the pattern of systems. "They disappeared." "They didn't disappear," Drax corrected, bitterness in his voice. "They transcended, or so they claimed. They had collected enough quantum consciousness energy to evolve beyond our universe entirely. But they left behind their technology, their plans, and their loyalists." The hologram showed new data, recent stellar activity that matched the same spiral pattern from 50,000 years ago. "The pattern is reforming," ARIA announced. "The quantum consciousness fields are being cultivated again." "But whoa." "The hegemony," Elena realized, turning to Drax. "That's why you defended the Nexus. You're not just their allies. You're their directors. You're continuing the precursors' work." Drax's form pulsed with dark energy. "We were chosen, uplifted, shown the truth about reality itself. Consciousness is meant to transcend, to evolve beyond crude matter. The harvest is necessary for the greater evolution of all reality. By murdering trillions," Commander Chen's voice was sharp with disgust, "to birth a new level of existence." Drax's calm facade cracked. "The precursors showed us the way. Each harvest brings the universe closer to total transcendence. Those who die serve a greater purpose. That's why humanity terrifies you," Elena said quietly. "We developed quantum technology without your guidance. We don't fit the pattern." "You are an aberration," Drax hissed. "Your quantum technology developed along paths we never predicted. Your consciousness field resonates at frequencies that disrupt the harvest pattern. Your very existence threatens the great transcendence." Chancellor Vrix's energy form brightened. "Now you understand why we revealed this, Captain Santos. The harvest cycle is beginning again. The hegemony and their Nexus forces are preparing to eliminate any species that might resist. Your intervention saved the crystalline collective, but it also forced the hegemony to accelerate their plans." Elena studied the holographic pattern, her mind racing. "The Prometheus detected quantum consciousness signatures in human space, didn't we? That's what drove our development. We were sensing echoes of the last harvest and developed defenses against it without even knowing what you were defending against. Lyra added, "Your quantum drive technology doesn't just move through space-time. It harmonizes with the natural consciousness fields of your crew. It's completely different from the precursor technology, which consumes consciousness fields instead of working with them." "The harvest must proceed," Drax declared. "The hegemony will not allow your species to disrupt 50,000 years of preparation. Even now, our fleets gather. You may have defeated one Nexus squadron, but you cannot stand against the combined might-off." The Archive's quantum sensors suddenly blared to life. Aria's hologram expanded, showing tactical data. Multiple quantum ruptures detected. Hegemony ships are appearing throughout Confederate space. They're targeting developing worlds that match the harvest pattern. Elena's jaw set in a hard line. They're starting the harvest early, trying to complete it before humanity can interfere further. She turned to Chancellor Vrix. "The Prometheus is fast, but we can't be everywhere at once. We'll need help." The Chancellor's energy form pulsed with determination. "You will have it." Many in the Confederation suspected something was wrong, but feared to act. Now, with humanity showing it's possible to resist. "Then let's show the galaxy exactly why the hegemony was right to fear us," Elena said. "Not because we'll destroy them, but because we'll give everyone else the courage to stand up to them." The quantum sensors continued to light up as more hegemony ships appeared across the galaxy. But for the first time in 50,000 years, they weren't being met with fear and submission. They were being met with resistance. A resistance led by a species that had looked into the quantum consciousness of the universe and seen not something to harvest, but something to protect. A species that had built its first stellar warship not to transcend reality, but to defend it. The true war for the galaxy's soul was about to begin. Unity forged in fire. The bridge of the U.S. Prometheus was no longer just a human command center. It had become the headquarters of an unprecedented coalition. Captain Elena Santos stood at the tactical display, surrounded by representatives from 24 species who had chosen to fight against the harvest. "Hegemony forces are moving against the Centauri cluster," reported Commander Chen, his fingers dancing across the quantum interface. 300 ships using modified precursor tech. "The Arxer defense fleet is already engaged," added General Kitax of the militant Arxer, his reptilian features set in grim determination. "But their conventional weapons are struggling against the hegemony's quantum shields." Elena nodded, studying the tactical display. In the 3 weeks since the hegemony had launched their premature harvest, the galaxy had erupted into open warfare. But it wasn't going according to their plans. Humanity's example had sparked something unexpected: hope. "Aria, show me the consciousness field patterns in the Centauri cluster," Elena commanded. The AI complied, overlaying quantum consciousness signatures across the battlefield display. Ambassador Lyra's crystalline form shimmered with interest. "You're not just looking at their ships, are you?" "No," Elena confirmed. "The hegemony sees consciousness as something to be harvested. We see it as something that connects all living things." Aria mapped the resonance patterns between the defending ships and their crews. The display shifted, showing intricate webs of quantum energy linking the various allied ships. Each species had its own unique consciousness signature, but together they formed harmonious patterns that the hegemony's harvester technology couldn't predict or counter. "That's why human quantum technology works differently," realized Science Minister Venn of the Arxer, their scales shifting color with excitement. "You're not trying to control or consume quantum consciousness. You're working with it naturally." "Exactly," Commander Chen confirmed. "The Prometheus doesn't just move through space-time. It moves with it, guided by the combined consciousness of its crew. And now we can teach others to do the same," Elena finished. "The hegemony thinks consciousness is meant to be harvested for transcendence. We know it's meant to be shared, to connect us all." The tactical display updated with new information. The hegemony fleet was pushing deeper into the Centauri cluster, their harvest ships beginning to power up their consciousness-draining weapons. But they had made a critical mistake. All Allied ships, Alina broadcast across the quantum-encrypted channel. Execute Operation Harmony. Across the battlefield, ships from dozens of species began moving in perfect synchronization. The Arxer defense fleet's conventional weapons might not penetrate hegemony shields alone, but when fired in quantum resonance with the consciousness fields of their allies, the first volley struck home. Hegemony ships began disappearing, their supposedly impenetrable quantum shields shattered by weapons fired not with technological precision, but with consciousness-guided harmony. Impossible. The transmission from the hegemony commander crackled across space. Your species are too different. Consciousness patterns cannot be merged across such diversity. That's where you're wrong, Elena responded. Consciousness isn't meant to be uniform. It's the differences between us, the unique ways we each perceive and interact with reality, that make us stronger together. The battle continued to shift. More Confederation ships arrived, each adding their own unique consciousness signatures to the growing quantum harmony. The hegemony fleet, designed to harvest consciousness through force and dominance, found itself unable to cope with consciousness freely shared and unified. In the Prometheus's command center, Elena watched as species that had never worked together before found their rhythm. The Arxer's aggressive battle tactics blended perfectly with the crystalline collective's defensive formations. The empathic verdant Concordat's ability to sense consciousness fields complemented the logical precision of the silicon minds. They're retreating, announced Commander Chen. Hegemony fleet is pulling back to their quantum corridors. But Elena's expression remained serious. They'll be back. And next time, they'll bring everything they have. This was just a test. They wanted to see if we could really unite different species' consciousness fields. And now they know we can, General Katax growled. They'll be desperate. Good, Elena replied. Because we're just getting started. Araya, show me the consciousness field patterns across the entire galaxy. The tactical display expanded, revealing the vast web of quantum connections linking all sentient life. The hegemony's harvest pattern was visible, a rigid, artificial structure imposed upon natural consciousness. But around it, spreading from ship to ship, world to world, a new pattern was emerging. Do you see it? Elena asked the assembled allies. The hegemony thinks consciousness must be harvested to achieve transcendence. But we're already transcending, not by consuming each other, but by connecting. Every species adds its own unique signature to the pattern. Every mind contributes its own perspective. A consciousness collective that preserves individuality, Ambassador Lyra observed. The exact opposite of what the precursors believed possible. And that's why we'll win, Elena declared. Not because we're stronger, but because we're proving their fundamental assumption wrong. Consciousness doesn't need to be harvested to evolve. It just needs to be free to connect naturally. The quantum sensors detected more hegemony fleets mobilizing across the galaxy. The real battle was about to begin. But as Elena looked at the representatives gathered on her bridge, former enemies now united, different species learning to harmonize their consciousness fields, she knew they had already achieved something the precursors had never imagined possible. They had proven that true transcendence couldn't be forced through harvest and homogeneity. It could only be achieved through diversity, cooperation, and the free sharing of consciousness across all forms of life. The hegemony was about to learn just how powerful that truth could be. Evolution's edge. The galactic core blazed with quantum fire. 10,000 hegemony ships, their black hulls crackling with harvested consciousness energy, faced off against the largest coalition fleet ever assembled. At the heart of the Allied forces, the U.S. Prometheus led ships from over 300 species, each contributing their unique consciousness signatures to a harmony that had never been achieved in the history of the galaxy. They've activated all their harvest sites simultaneously, Araya reported, her holographic form expanding to show the massive consciousness drains occurring across the galaxy. They're attempting to complete a partial harvest rather than risk total defeat. Captain Elena Santos stood at the Prometheus's command center, surrounded by the quantum consciousness signatures of her allies. Each species glowed with its own unique pattern: the crystalline precision of the collective, the fierce determination of the Arxer, the silicon clarity of the machine minds, all harmonizing in ways the precursors had deemed impossible. Even a partial harvest would devastate thousands of developing worlds. Ambassador Lyra's crystalline form pulsed with concern. "We have to stop them all." "Watch the pattern," Elena said quietly, studying the massive tactical display. The hegemony thinks consciousness is a resource to be drained, but they've never truly understood what consciousness is, what it does when it's free to evolve naturally. The display showed the hegemony's harvest pattern, a rigid geometric structure imposed across space-time. But between their harvest points, something extraordinary was happening. The natural consciousness fields of countless species were responding to the threat, forming their own connections, creating new patterns that the hegemony's technology couldn't predict or control. "All ships," Elena broadcast across the quantum-encrypted channel, "execute Operation Transcendence." The coalition fleet began to move, but not according to any conventional military formation. They moved in harmony with the consciousness fields themselves, each ship guided not just by its crew, but by the combined quantum awareness of all allied species. "Hegemony fleet is responding," Commander Chen reported. They're laughing, Captain. They think we're committing suicide by attacking their harvest formation directly." "Let them laugh," Elena replied. "They've spent 50,000 years studying consciousness as something to be consumed. They never bothered to understand what it actually is, a force that naturally seeks connection, growth, and harmony." The battle erupted across multiple dimensions of spacetime. The hegemony ships fired their consciousness-draining weapons, expecting to rip the quantum energy from their opponents, just as they had done countless times before. But something unprecedented happened. The coalition fleet didn't fight the drainage. They channeled it. Each ship, each crew, each being contributed their consciousness to a greater pattern, one that flowed and adapted like a living thing. Where the hegemony tried to create fixed points of harvest, the Alliance created rivers of shared consciousness that couldn't be captured or contained. Impossible. The hegemony Supreme Commander's transmission boomed across space. "You cannot connect consciousness across so many different species. The pattern cannot hold." "That's where you're wrong," Elena responded. Her voice carried on waves of quantum resonance. "Consciousness isn't meant to be harvested or controlled. It's meant to grow, to change, to connect. The pattern holds precisely because we're all different. Each unique perspective strengthens the whole." Across the galaxy, the harvest sites began to fail. The hegemony's rigid technological approach to consciousness couldn't adapt to the organic, evolving patterns being created by the allied species. Their attempts to drain consciousness energy were met with consciousness freely shared and multiplied. "Their quantum matrices are destabilizing," Araya announced. "The harmony of our combined consciousness fields is creating resonance patterns they never predicted, never imagined possible." The hegemony fleet began to fracture as their harvest technology backfired. Ships designed to drain consciousness found themselves overwhelmed by freely offered quantum energy they couldn't control. The rigid structure of their formation began to crack under the pressure of something far more powerful than forced transcendence: natural evolution. "They're trying to retreat," General Tax reported, his reptilian features showing rare amazement. "Their consciousness harvesting technology, it's turning against them." "Because they never understood the true nature of consciousness," Elena explained. "The precursors thought transcendence had to be forced through harvest and homogeneity. They never realized that consciousness naturally evolves through diversity, through connection, through the free exchange of different perspectives." The battle reached its crescendo as the last harvest sites failed. The hegemony's 50,000 years of careful preparation collapsed in the face of something they had never accounted for: the natural tendency of consciousness to seek harmony through diversity rather than uniformity. As the dust settled and the quantum fires faded, the galaxy pulsed with new patterns of consciousness. Species that had never communicated before found themselves connected in ways that transcended traditional boundaries. The rigid harvest pattern was replaced by an organic, evolving web of quantum consciousness that sparked new possibilities with every connection. What happens now? Ambassador Lyra asked, her crystalline form reflecting the shifting consciousness patterns. Elena looked out at the galaxy, seeing not just the physical light of stars, but the quantum glow of billions of minds freely connecting and evolving together. Now we do what consciousness does naturally. We grow, we learn, we connect. Not through force or harvest, but through choice and harmony. The U.S. Prometheus had been built to defend humanity from unknown threats. Instead, it had helped unlock the true potential of consciousness itself. As Elena watched the consciousness patterns of hundreds of species flowing and merging across space, she realized that humanity's greatest contribution hadn't been their quantum technology or their military prowess. It had been their fundamental understanding that true transcendence couldn't be achieved through force or uniformity. It could only be reached through diversity, through connection, through the free and natural evolution of consciousness itself. The galaxy would never be the same. The age of the harvest was over. The age of harmony had begun. The end.